So we kind of jokingly talk about when is the best time to buy real estate. Well, 5 years ago. Okay, but what about now? The interest rates are high, they're coming down. The prices, especially in the Austin area, have started to come down. Like what does all of this mean? How do we know? And that's a legitimate concern, a legitimate question. So we're gonna do a little bit of a deep dive into the math to kind of get you an idea of how we can leverage all of the data to make the best use so that you too can turn around and say, when is the best time to buy real estate? Well, I bought 5 years ago and look at where I'm at. Let's dive in. So over that 60 years, if you broke that growth rate and you broke it down, those averages, it's year over year, the average it's gonna go up is 5.76. This is important because you have the ups and downs. I went back 60 years. So we went through the Carter time, we went through the 80s, we went through the bank bailout era, right? We went through all of that, and yet still we have that average growth rate per year. Let's use that to our advantage. Now, I also went back in, same 60 years, and said, what is the average interest rate? Because that's a huge thing that everybody's looking at right now. Well, what I found out was the average interest rate over 60 years is actually 7.51%. Going, hold on a minute. We've been doing 3%. What are you talking about? Again, listen, man, we went back 60 years. So when we're looking at today's interest rates, we're actually not that bad, right? And the interest rates are going down, but there are ways that we can utilize this to our advantage, even if you buy now. What am I saying with that? Well, you have to start to think about, okay, supply and demand, right? And what does money cost us? That's the interest rate. If the interest rates are high, the demand is lower. And that's actually why they raised the interest rates, right? To cool down the economy, to slow the market down. In the Austin area, we have seen that actually bring the prices of homes down. Great. Now we're starting to see those interest rates start to drop again. That means that everybody who is sitting waiting for those interest rates, as they start to come down, are going to start to come back in the market, raising that demand up. That demand then is going to turn around and people are going to be able to start asking more for their houses again. That's where that average year over year is going up, right? We've seen a little bit of a drip down. Now we're going to start to see this come up. How do I use this to my advantage? All right, so we start looking at things like loan packages where we can do what's called a 2-1 buy down or 3-2-1 buy down, where we temporarily buy down the rates so that we can buy now, lock in today's home prices. If the interest rates do continue to drop over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, we can pick the opportune time to go in and refinance. So we have another like insider joke that says you date the interest rate, you marry the house. So we want to marry the price of the house and be able to utilize refinancing. We lock in that today's pricing, but when the interest rates drop down to where it works for us, we just change out the interest rate. So we only date the rate, we marry the home price. Now, does that mean that I'm waiting for all of that to happen? Not necessarily. We want to look at the average home price in the greater Austin area right now is about $450,000. So if we look at the average homeowner lives in their home for about 8 years, all right? So if we apply that 5.76 year over year to that 450,000, now that $450,000 house in 8 years is probably worth around $750,000. That's $250,000 you gain by getting in the market now. We need to factor all this in your personal situation, but hesitating, waiting for the market to do things instead of leveraging the time. You say, well, the interest rates are super high right now. Again, we can do that 2-1 buy down, or we can do a permanent buy down of the rate, or we can just buy the house with the straight interest rates that they are right now. Why would I want to do that? Let's go back to the math. Okay, we said that house is worth $250,000 more than when I bought it. With the interest rates of where they were at 3% versus 6% on that $450,000, it's going to cost you about $9,000 more more a year in mortgage payments. That's just going straight to interest. Again, you're going, Danny, what are you doing to me? Again, let's look at that math. If we have $250,000 over 8 years, we divide that up, we end up with about $30,000 a year in increase. Okay, so if I buy now with today's rates and I do nothing and I wait 8 years, I actually am gaining $30,000 a year, but it's costing me $10,000 more a year in interest. By waiting, I'm losing $20,000 a year, even with the higher interest rate. That's a lot of money, and that's on a $450,000 house. So if we go up from there, it's even more money. You really have to start thinking about, when is the best time to buy? Is it really waiting for perfect market conditions? You know, that is part of it, but also understanding how the fundamentals of real estate work. What is the historical data? How can I utilize this and leverage this to my advantage? Then you also start thinking about, well, am I buying my first home? Am I renting? If I'm renting, I'm throwing away 100% of my interest. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a landlord say, you know what, you've lived here for 3 years, I'm gonna give you $90,000 when you move out. No, that's his profit, right? So you're paying all that out. Not only that, but you get to enjoy being in your own home, right? So you're building your own equity, you're enjoying being in your own home. If you have to sell a house first because you're moving up or whatever you're doing, you also get to say, all right, I want to be in that new house. And if the financials work for me to go ahead and get into that new house, why am I waiting? I understand we're going over a lot of math. I also understand that I'm going over general stuff. You can do the research on this stuff yourself as well. Please go ahead in the comments, show me your information and your stuff so that I can learn too. But based on the information I got, that is where we are, and that is how we utilize the timing of the market. No, leveraging time, owning is where we go. I've been playing with houses for 30 years. I am more than happy to go over all of that information, hear what your goals are, what your timeline is, show you my thoughts, my opinion, my experience, where you can go to get the right information, knowing that we're making the most out of the financial benefits that real estate really does have to offer. So I look forward to hearing from you guys. We'll talk soon.